If you think the megalodon or the leviathan was the scariest thing ever to swim in the ocean, wait until you see what else the ocean cooked up. Some of the scariest ones never even made it into the movies, but they made it into your nightmares. If you're swimming in the ocean and see this thing, run fast. This is the Nothosaurus. This thing made sharks look like pet goldfish. It's got the body of a sea serpent, but with the attitude of someone who definitely doesn't understand or care about personal space. Kinda like a crazy Karen who decided to take out her vengeance on the ocean. This thing was long, slim, and built for chaos. Like a snake, a crocodile, and an angry seal all fused into one nightmare. Then give it a body drawn by a 4-year-old with a crayon addiction. It was a water ninja slicing through the ocean with flippers that looked like they were designed for one thing: pouncing on fish, small reptiles, and probably everything else that dared to swim nearby. And here's the scariest part though. This thing didn't just stalk the living things in the water, it also hung out on land, terrorizing anything that was stupid enough to come near it on the beach. On land, it wasn't winning any races though, because it didn't need to. It was basically a slow-moving, overgrown lizard with oversized teeth that will make any dentist cringe. And don't you talk about my teeth. Its teeth and claws could turn a small animal into minced meat faster than I eat chicken nuggets. Imagine trying to outrun something that's slower on land than your grandma trying to catch the bus, but still capable of biting your leg off with one quick snap. So basically a semi-aquatic predator with no boundaries. Like a drunk uncle at a family reunion, but with uglier teeth. And it wasn't overly huge, but big enough to scare the hair off your head. And no, that's not what happened to mine. It was about 10 to 20 feet long, roughly the size of a small bus. And it was thick too, about a ton, meaning if it sat on you, you'd be feeling that for weeks. It was basically a walking, biting, swimming chaos machine with an overbite that will make me look like I have perfect dental hygiene. This predator was faster in water than most of the other monsters, with a neck that could whip around quicker than your Wi-Fi disconnects during the final fight on Fortnite. It was the ultimate ocean chaos agent, just waiting to yeet itself at anything that moved. Like when your sister wakes up in the morning and chooses violence for no reason, bro. So yeah, Nothosaurus wasn't just some weird lizard water thing. It was the ocean's version of chaos in a scale suit, biting, yeeting, and terrifying everything in sight. Thankfully, this thing's been deleted from history because we're so spoiled we complain about bad traffic and bad Wi-Fi. And if you think that's crazy, wait till you see the rest of these creatures that make modern animals and predators look like Build-A-Bears. If you think the T-Rex is scary, meet Carcharodontosaurus. Say that 3 times fast. Carcharodontosaurus, Carcharodontosaurus. Sounds like a Wi-Fi password. Anyway, this thing was T-Rex's taller, meaner cousin who never got the fame it deserves, and it sounded so much scarier than it looks too. This beast was basically the shark of land dinosaurs. In fact, its name actually means shark-toothed lizard. Ayo, that's what they used to call me in 3rd grade. It had the teeth the size of bananas and an aura that said, I don't hunt for food, I hunt for fun. Its jaw power was stronger than that of a crocodile, and the teeth were sharp enough to shred through any prey like a hot knife through butter. Only if that butter was the size of a small truck and being chased by a hangry predator. It was about 40 feet long, roughly the size of a small school bus, and weighed about 8 tons. And here's the thing, this beast was fast even though it was thick. Why he's thick? Not cheetah fast, but fast enough to make lions look like they're lagging. But just like the T-Rex, it looked like it skipped arm day at the gym for an eternity.
She was a fairy.
Here's what's even crazier though. Scientists think it was more of a lurker, waiting in ambush to crush prey with a signal, SNAP! But Carcharodontosaurus wasn't just a big scary guy in the yard. It was built like a skyscraper, moved like a track star, and bit like it had beef with everything. A pure chaos engine in dino form with teeth that could shred your SUV and a sound that could vibrate your bones. Sounds like your dad snoring after 3 chili dogs. If you think today's crocodiles are scary, meet Docosaurus. A crocodile that wished it was a mosasaur that ended up with identity problems but was still extremely terrifying. Its name literally means biter lizard, which is a polite way of saying if it got its teeth on you, then you would turn into spaghetti. It's got the body of a crocodile on steroids, but with the head that kind of looked like a dolphin, with crocodile teeth. Except that this dolphin turned even more evil and joined a death cult. Aerodynamic, but psychotic. Its thick skull and powerful jaws made it an underwater chaos agent. It had teeth so big and sharp they could cut through a boat and turn a fish into a blood smoothie faster than you can texture bestie. It was built like a tank, weighing around a ton and long enough to give your average SUV a run for its money. It was faster than most marine predators, blitzing through the water like a predator missile. If sharks had nightmares, this thing was in them doing backflips. Imagine if a crocodile and a killer whale had a baby, and that baby grew up and decided becoming one of the most ocean's biggest bullies. That's Dilophosaurus. It was only about 20 to 25 feet long, but it didn't need to be big. It needed to be fast enough and violent enough to make sure there wasn't anything left to catch again. And if you think today's sharks are intimidating, just remember, this guy was the ocean's boss, running the underwater streets with teeth bigger than your ego. Dilophosaurus made crocs and sharks look like emotional support animals, man. Imagine walking through the forest and hearing something crunching leaves behind you. You turn around and there it is, the scariest thing you've ever seen in your life. Big, mean, and angry. And no, not your 10 feet of armored centipede nightmare casually slithering like it pays rent in your spine. There's oversized, and then there's Arthropleura. This wasn't your average house centipede. It was a mobile panic attack with legs. This was a floorboard rattling, soul leaving your body level of disrespect. It didn't bite, it conquered. And before you ask, no, it wasn't venomous because it didn't need to be. When you're built like a demonic subway train with legs, you don't need poison. You are the hazard. If I ever saw this thing in real life, I'd bite myself first to speed up the process. It was so big that birds couldn't even carry it off. They probably just watched it go by and say, yeah, I'm good, fam. And the craziest part, it wasn't even a predator. It was a vegetarian.
Another reason to be vegan.
This nightmare stick didn't want meat. It just wanted leaves, but still had the body count vibes of something that eats dreams. This thing had so many legs it could moonwalk, two-step, and chase you all at once. The exoskeleton looked like it could take a shotgun blast and reply with a side eye. This thing mostly lived in swamps, which means it blended in with the mud, the logs, the environment until the ground started moving and a wall of 100 legs started slithering towards you like a glitch in real life. Arthropleura was less bug and more a manifestation of panic. Every inch of his body said, yeah, scream louder, it won't help. So the next time you see a tiny house centipede and feel brave, just remember, this is the toddler version. If this creature existed today, pest control would need holy water and a therapist. There's a creature that lived in the ocean so creepy that scientists still can't fully explain it. It had spinning jaws, alien eyes, and face arms designed to grab and destroy, and somehow it was real. Mythical, which literally means weird shrimp. Which is wild because that's like calling a demon mildly unpleasant. It was a prehistoric paper shredder with googly eyes and grabby claws. This thing looked like the universe had a stroke while designing a Pokemon and just sent it out anyway. It had two hooked arms coming out of his face like crab tongues with a grudge. Each one lined with spikes like it was built specifically to snap, crush, and ruin. It didn't bite you, it collected you and then blended you into soup. The mouth was a rotating ring of death, a full spinning disc of razor sharp blades like a fidget spinner of doom. And once you're inside that thing, there's no exit strategy. It didn't just bite you, it turned you into a smoothie. You didn't become food, you became a memory. And it had this freaky periscopic eyes. Imagine you're trying to hide and it's peeking around a rock like, I see you. It grew to about 3 feet tall, but don't let the size fool you. That's big enough to ruin your afternoon and your family legacy. And it was fast too. It zipped through water like it was allergic to hesitation. Imagine a shrimp, but it's angry, streamlines, and had a license to kill. It was all muscle, rage, and chaos, bro. If I saw something like that swimming towards me, I think I'd drown on purpose to avoid the trauma, man. And here's the part that breaks your brain. For years, scientists thought it was 3 different animals. The arms, the eyes, the mouth each got classified as a separate species. Because no one wanted to believe one creature had all that horror built in. Mythical wasn't just an animal. It was a design so wrong it somehow worked. Basically a cursed sea bug that looks like a shrimp, hunted like a human, and ate like me at the buffet.
Served up with the latest
So next time you eat a shrimp, just remember, this one came before, and it had spinning jaws and claw arms, and it wanted to eat you. If you hear this sound, it's too late. Meet Andrew-sarchus, 3 feet of bone-crushing jaw. So we don't even know exactly what this thing looked like since no full body was ever found, but yet, somehow, it's considered one of the most terrifying land animals to ever exist. Because when your head alone is over 3 feet long, you're not an animal, you're a warning. Its mouth was lined with thick, crushing teeth, not for slicing, but for smashing, pulverizing, flattening whatever was dumb enough to breathe nearby. So it didn't chew, it processed. Like me at the Golden Corral, bro. Some say it scavenged, others say it's hunted, but let's be real. I think it didn't care. It ate what it wanted, dead or alive. Based on the skull and what it was packing, it was probably built like a bulldozer in a fur coat. Thick neck, heavy body, short temper. Kinda like you said. We imagined it to be a boar, a bear, and a bad attitude, had a love child, but it wasn't fast. It was a slow, stomping, bone-shattering enforcer that didn't chase prey, it cornered it. So next time you think lions or bears are scary, just remember, Andrew-sarchus existed just to make sure those animals never got too confident. If T-Rex had a weirder older cousin that hit the gym too hard and never learned personal space, you get this scary beast, Acrocanthosaurus. Now don't leave yet because this just looks like another dinosaur, because it isn't. It's so much worse, bro. It was a walking spine rack with murder in its stride, and it looked like it had beef with gravity itself. itself. It stood over 11 feet tall at the hips, ran on 2 legs, and had a ridge of massive spikes down its back like it lost a bet with a porcupine. And these weren't just for show. This thing looked like it spawned mid-glitch and the game developers just left it in. Bro walked around like a stegosaurus was wearing him as a cape. And while it wasn't the fastest, it didn't need to be, because being built like a meat grinder with a mohawk, you can take your time. It didn't just kill, it turned prey into regret. And if you were a smaller dinosaur in the area, your options were play dead, get dead, or die tired. And unlike T-Rex, this thing had arms with actual grabbing power. Big enough to pull things in, hold them down, or just slap you for looking at it wrong. T-Rex had baby arms, Acro came with a full arm subscription, bro. Let's talk about the spine ridge, because this thing's back looked like it was hiding a second dinosaur inside. Was it for muscle, heat regulation, intimidation? Nobody knows, but it looked cool. It made Acro look bigger, and it probably made other predators say, yeah, never mind, I'll eat something less horrifying. It was a walking billboard for I don't need speed if I have power and trauma. Now this wasn't a hunter that played with his food, it hunted with a purpose. And here's the thing, people love talking about T-Rex like that was the final boss, but Ankylosaurus was the prequel villain, man. Built bigger, stocked with spine blades, and fueled by pure unbothered dominance. The only creature that looked like it walked out of a horror movie trailer halfway through production and just decided to keep going. You ever had a nightmare so bad that it leaves you sweating in your sleep and you wake up only to realize it was real, except this nightmare crawled all over you? Welcome to hallucinogynia. This isn't a creature, it's a biological typo. It's not scary because it'll eat you, it's scary because it shouldn't exist. Designed by a sleep-deprived toddler with access to God's 3D printer, named by scientists who stayed up for weeks drinking too much caffeine. So here's a rundown of this creepy thing. It's about the length of a paperclip, but don't let the size fool you. This thing had full horror movie energy in miniature mode. It had a head, if you want to call it that looked like it was pasted on from another creature's design file. It had a mouth, maybe eyes, but everything about it said, don't worry about how I function, just know I exist to scare you, bro. This thing is so weird it left scientists confused for years. Scientists literally spent years trying to figure out which side was up. They thought the legs were tentacles, they thought the spikes were legs. They even put the mouth on this thing wrong at one point. And it gets so much freakier, just wait. This thing walked around on stilts with needle spine stabbing straight up from its back like it was wearing a medieval bear trap as a backpack. Hallucinogynia didn't bite, so this thing wasn't a predator. It didn't have claws or speed or venom. It had pure chaos energy and a body designed like a bad dream after Taco Bell. It staggered across the seafloor like it had just spawned into the wrong simulation. Every movement said, I don't know why I'm here either, bro, because sometimes nightmares crawl. So the next time you think nature knows what it's doing, just remember there was once a creature covered in spikes, walking on stilts, and had a head like an accident, and it thrived, just like Twitter users. There's a bear so massive, so overpowered, and so fast it made modern grizzly look like Build-A-Bears. It didn't climb trees, it didn't fish in rivers, it hunted like it was trying to settle generation trauma. Meet the short-faced bear. The definition of you can run, but you'll still die tired, bro. This thing wasn't a bear, it was a muscle claw with fur and a murder license. 6 feet at the shoulder, 13 feet tall when it stood up, and weighed over a ton, but with long legs built for pure speed. Basically 13 feet of nope, could run 40 miles an hour and maul you for sport. Its face was flat and wide and built for crushing bone like it was chewing bubblegum. Its jaws could snap through your spine, but it didn't just rely on strength. This thing had range. The long limbs meant it could chase, tackle, and dismantle prey across open land. Predators ran, prey ran, nothing could survive, bro. It had claws the size of steak knives and paws that could fold you like laundry, man. And don't think hiding would help. Its nose is basically GPS for blood. And here's the most disrespectful part. There's a debate if it was a predator or a scavenger, which is wild because either way, you were still ending up inside of it. Hunted, stolen, chased, cornered, didn't matter. The result was always the bear's gonna win. And yes, these things were around when humans were here, which means somebody's great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather had to fight off these furry demons with pointy toothpicks. So yeah, modern bears are scary, but the short-faced bear was the original rage tank because sometimes nature doesn't build dominance, it builds violence and lets it run loose. If you think raptors in Jurassic Park were scary, wait till you see this freak of nature. This raptor wasn't from the movies. This was the final boss version. Bigger, meaner, smarter. And it came with claws that could disembowel you before your brain finished processing the fear. Meet Utahraptor, a 6-foot-tall razor blade raptor that makes all other raptors look like plushies. Utahraptor was over 20 feet long and didn't hunt chickens. It was a lot more hangry. This thing was basically a murder turkey on performance enhancers. It had a sickle-shaped claw on each foot, 9 inches long, for slashing throats and ruining family trees. Its legs were built for speed and its arms built for grip. These things were highly intelligent too. So yeah, it wasn't just strong, it was smart. It could strategize with ambush tactics and calculate violence. The whole body was made for maximum disrespect. Long tail for balance, powerful legs for pouncing, and a mouthful of serrated teeth made to ruin flesh. Oh yeah, and some people actually believe it came with feathers, which makes it so much worse. Because now you're getting shredded by something that looks like it escaped a cursed bird sanctuary. Imagine being mauled by a 6-foot parrot with rage issues. And it wasn't just a one-hit killer. It was a bleed you out type. It hit you fast, deep, and often, then wait while you realize you've been open like a zipper. Kinda how felines do today. Utahraptor wasn't just another dinosaur, it was a tactical problem with claws. So yeah, Jurassic Park gave you raptors, but this thing was the director's unedited cut. Because sometimes nature doesn't just give you a predator, it gives you a walking nightmare with feathers. If you're swimming in the ocean and see this freaky thing, run fast. Some creatures are built to hunt, some are built to survive. This one was built like a prank. It had a tiny body, stubby legs, and a neck so long it could sip boba tea from 2 zip codes away. Meet Tanatropheus, the this doesn't look right kind of thing that terrorized the ocean. Tanatropheus looked like someone was designing the creature, hit the stretch button on the wrong part of the body, and the computer crashed. Its neck was over 10 feet long and its body was barely half that. That's not a proportion, that's a threat to physics. Bro looked like a snake wearing a lizard cosplay. And it wasn't flexible either, it was a stiff clunky noodle. If it wanted to look at something behind it, it had to rotate its entire existence. And here's the worst part, no one knows what it's really trying to be. Was it a swimmer, a fisherman, a cursed jungle puppet? Who knows? It's still freaky, bro! Its skull was packed with sharp teeth, so yeah, it was definitely doing some damage if it bit you. It was the biological version of a giraffe that had flippers. Tall, awkward, and one good tackle away from extinction. Tanatropheus wasn't built to win, it was built to confuse, the kind of creature that makes you want to pause and go, what exactly were you supposed to be doing here, my guy? Not scary, not smart, just long and freaky. Now there's a creature scarier than a T-Rex and raptors. Meet the original rage-powered meat shredder that killed with speed, saw blade teeth, and a skull that doubled as a weapon. Here is Allosaurus. It didn't hunt because it needed to eat, it hunted because violence was the only language it spoke fluently. 30 feet long, 2 tons of built-in trauma, and a face that looked like it was designed in a weapon factory. It wasn't a tank, it wasn't armored, it was fast, light, and reckless. This thing didn't wait to ambush. It lunged, bit, backed off, and came in again like a prehistoric blender on a loop. The bite wasn't as strong as other apex predators, but it didn't matter because Allosaurus didn't just bite down. It bit, yanked, and tore chunks out of anything that moved, kind of like a shark. Imagine getting bit by a hacksaw with legs. And its head was built like a battering ram. Some scientists actually think it used a skull like a blade, slamming its jaws into prey like a living guillotine. So yeah, this thing didn't just come with teeth, it came with momentum. Allosaurus had actual arms with claws, not with those sad little T-Rex twigs. It could grab, slash, and hold prey while turning everything else below it into meat confetti. This wasn't a strategic killer, this is a prehistoric road rage with claws. It went after bigger prey than itself too, just went full berserk mode and let the skull do the talking. Not the biggest, not the smartest, just fast, unstable, and aggressively hands-on. So the next time someone brings up raptors or T-Rex like they were the scariest, remind them that Allosaurus is already out here doing the job first, but messier, louder, and with way more violence per step. The original middleweight monster with final boss behavior. If you think the scariest creatures walked tall, roared loud, and chased down their victim, then you haven't met this low-crawling death machine with steak knife teeth and a sail on its back. This is the Metrodon, the swamp-born bite specialist that didn't chase food, it ambushed and waited for it to bleed out. This thing wasn't a dinosaur, it was a land crocodile with a built-in sword-arm panel and way too much anger for something shaped like a garden lizard. It sat in the mud like a reptilian landmine, motionless, silent, and when something wandered too close, snap, gone, deleted from the ecosystem fast than I eat chicken nuggets. It had a mouth full of serrated steak knives and a jaw designed to unmake skeletons. The bite wasn't just strong, it was disrespectful. The top teeth curved down like hooks, bottom jaw unhinged like it was built to embarrass small animals. That's not a mouth, that's a biological paper shredder, bro. And let's talk about that giant fan-shaped bone structure on its back. Nobody knows exactly what it did, but it looked cool, kind of like me with a mohawk. Scientists think the cell could be for regulating temperature, attracting mates, intimidating rivals. Maybe all of it, who knows? Or maybe it was just there to say, look how unnecessarily scary I am. Either way it worked, because if something crawled towards you with a 6-foot fin sticking out your back and murder in its eyes, you're not asking questions, you're leaving. The Metrodon had short legs, heavy steps, and an attitude of something that doesn't run because it didn't need to. Its body was thick, armored, and with those stubby little legs it stayed low to the ground. Hey, that's gonna be my excuse now. Basically a mobile jaw trap that also had a built-in billboard screaming, try me. And despite whatever cheap toy company says, it's not a dinosaur. It was more closer to mammals than raptors. But honestly, who cares? It could have still folded you like a lawn chair. So it didn't have speed, didn't have fight, but it had jaws, power, and a whole lot of I woke up angry. Like when your mom wakes you up for school. Now, if you think the big dinosaurs are the scary ones, then you haven't met this flying chicken with sharp teeth and talons, the attitude of a goose on a Red Bull.
Why are you running? Why are you running?
This is the Microraptor. The tiny version of your worst nightmare with feathers and an aptitude bigger than your uncle at Thanksgiving.
What?
This thing wasn't majestic and it wasn't cute. It had wings on its arms and legs with the confidence of a full-grown raptor. Microraptor could glide between trees like a little ninja gremlin with teeth and then drop out the sky like a tiny T-Rex with feathers, and it was freaky. This little terror was a master glider, basically the feathered version of a squirrel on steroids. Flying, stalking, and ready to attack anything it could rip apart. Oh, it didn't just glide either. It spent a lot of time stalking the ground, waiting for the perfect moment to snack on whatever was too slow to escape. And if this thing landed on your back, you wouldn't even have time to scream. You just feel the pain with feathers. Hey, Hey, why does this thing remind me of chicken jockey, bro? Just like its older brothers, it had razor-sharp curved teeth for ripping and slicing. And yes, it had those sharp little claws larger raptors had designed for climbing, slashing, and ruining someone's legacy. Even though it was small, it had the ferocity of a predator twice its size. Kind of like your grandma's chihuahua. It was here to glide in, hit you, and vanish like a prehistoric hit and run. This tiny flying chaos agent was faster than you think. Wings that made it look like it heading to a disco party, but teeth and claws ready to crash in and ruin your day. So yeah, maybe your Microraptor wasn't just some tiny bird wannabe. It was a feathered nightmare, wings spread wide, claws ready, and an attitude bigger than most dinosaurs. And if you think geese today are bossy, just remember, this tiny terror used to rule the treetops, and you wouldn't be safe from it either. If you think saber-toothed teeth belong to cats, then you haven't met this prehistoric nightmare that looked like a reptile and hit like a land torpedo. This is Gorgonops, the saber-faced predator that didn't sneak, it charged. If a saber-toothed tiger and a lizard had a kid during an apocalypse, you get this thick beast. This thing had fangs like daggers, eyes like a serial killer, and a posture that screamed, "I don't hunt because I'm hungry, I hunt because I'm angry because I look like this." Gorgonops wasn't a dinosaur, and it wasn't a mammal either. It was somewhere in between in that gray area where nightmares get made. This thing looks like it spawned before rules were invented. Gorgonops wasn't some slow, cold-blooded swamp creature. It had first speed and forward-facing eyes because it didn't hope you died. It made sure you did. It had a jaw that opened wide enough to make snakes jealous, and inside were two oversized canine teeth designed to end you before you could figure out where the pain came from. Not just long, not just sharp, curved sabers made to puncture lungs, necks, and your last ounce of hope. One bite and you weren't dying instantly because Gorgonops didn't do clean kills. It had forward-facing eyes. You know what that means? Predator mode, depth perception, and chase accuracy. It didn't just lunge at prey, it tracked it. It wasn't some dumb lizard flailing around. It calculated and knew when to strike, how hard, and exactly where to put the teeth. For a while, it was the top predator. Not because it was big, but because it was fast, aggressive, and absolutely unbothered. If dinosaurs are organized, Gorgonops was the dude in the corner sharpening knives just in case someone breathed too loud. So the next time you see a prehistoric lineup and wonder who started the drama, it was this thing with fangs longer than your fingers and a walk that said, "Try me. I dare you." But luckily, guys, I have this bloop plushie to keep me safe, and if you want one, you can check the link in the description. Look how big this thing is, almost big as my head. And if you guys like this video and thought these things were cool, you ought to check this other one I made just for you right there. Oh yeah, I got one more question. You ready to go swimming?